We are going to have a fun time as usual talking about our topic tonight, which is about airplane mode. Hello, everyone. Okay, let's just verify that we are on here. Okay, so kind of like our housekeeping discussion here. So the format of a live stream is that I talk for 30 minutes approximately about whatever topic I have on the title, and then the rest of it is an hour of Q&A. And you don't have to watch the Q&A. The Q&A is whatever you ask over here. So if you're interested, you can watch that, but you don't have to. So some of you are saying, oh, your broadcasts are, your live streams are too long. No, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to watch it, but it does give you an opportunity to interact. And I get to feel the pulse of what everybody wants to hear. And so it's important for me to learn about what you're actually thinking in case I'm going off the deep end and talking about things you're not interested in, then I'll not know until you tell me in a live stream like this. So thank you for being here tonight, and it's always fun. It's always fun to be here on an Adult Beverage Friday. Now, kind of a scheduling announcement here. Now, this Friday, of course, I'm on, but next week I am not going to be on Friday. I'm tied up on Friday, so next week is going to be Saturday. And then the following week, maybe Saturday if I'm able. I may be so tired because I'm going to be elsewhere, but I'll be back on Saturday, but I don't know if I can do it. If not, I'll do it on Sunday. So again, for the next 2 weeks, the live stream will not be on Friday. So just remind people if they come in here and expect it. I'm going to put a schedule thing on the screen so you know in advance. Okay? So anyway, the topic tonight is a question or a comment made on one of my videos. And the comment was, oh, to hide location, all we have to do is turn off location in the settings, take off the SIM card, and put it in airplane mode. And we're good. And my goodness, that's not good, because location is probably one of the biggest things we want to protect as far as privacy is concerned. In fact, the reason we protect an IP address is so that the IP address does not get attached to a location. So let me remind you of this again, how an IP address is tied to location, because it's indirect. If you are going to just look at the database, an IP address simply points to a city. So whoever owns the IP address, that's the address you have. But it's because of these things called reverse IP lookup databases. Anytime you use any kind of app, and the app captures your IP address and captures your location, mostly with mobile apps and even some desktop apps like a Yelp or a Craigslist or something like that. They will then have two pieces of information, which is IP address and exact location. Then they sell that. Now, once they sell it, what happens? Once they sell it, they have a reverse IP lookup database, which means all they need is the IP address, and they can see, oh, it was recorded that that IP address was at this location. And then all you have to do is, look up the location on your Google Earth, and then you can pinpoint with Street View whoever it is, find who owns the house. There you go. You got them. Okay? So all this is automated. This is not like somebody looking for this. They already know all this. So that's one of the reasons you have to hide your IP address, because it's associated with your real identity. You can't hide if you don't hide your IP address. Now, having said that, many people are confused because an IP address is not important if you're on cell data. The reason is it's not your home IP address. That's the IP address given to you by the cell company. So if you're on the road using cell data, it's okay. It doesn't matter what the IP address is, because it won't match to you. The one that matches to you is the one that's your home DSL IP address. Okay? Yes, you can use a VPN, of course. But I'm saying that that's why we protect our IP address with a VPN. That's the reason. That's the reason why we do it. That's the main reason, location tracking. So if they have a location and it's being tracked to a VPN IP address, then they've got nothing, because obviously many of you will be using the same IP address from the same VPN, and there will be many locations for that same IP address, and so the data will be invalid. Okay? But that has nothing to do with airplane mode. That has nothing to do with airplane mode. So the question is, so you're on your computer or on your phone, and you're on your Wi-Fi at home on your phone, and you're connecting to the Wi-Fi, and you're saying, oh, all I have to do is go on airplane mode, and it's not going to track my location. False. Quite false. Now, why is that? Okay, so airplane mode has nothing to do with the two elements that are used in Wi-Fi location tracking: Wi-Fi triangulation and Wi-Fi scanning. That's nothing. Neither one has anything to do with Wi-Fi mode. What airplane mode? What airplane mode is, it says your device cannot connect to a Wi-Fi network. That's what it is. When you click on airplane mode, your ability to connect to a Wi-Fi is disabled. Okay? Airplane mode, disable your access to a Wi-Fi. It doesn't stop the Wi-Fi from running on your phone. In fact, there is no switch. There's actually no way to turn off Wi-Fi on the phone. And that's why people use or want to use a Librem 5 or a Pine phone, because you can have a physical switch that can turn off Wi-Fi. There's no physical switch to turn off Wi-Fi on a regular Android or iOS phone. Okay? But Wi-Fi triangulation itself, and again, just a quick review, Wi-Fi triangulation is when your phone finds the Wi-Fi's around you. That keeps going on even though you're in airplane mode. It finds the Wi-Fi's around you. It sends out a query, a poll. It actually makes a statement that says, I'm here listening for Wi-Fi's. So Wi-Fi's tell me if you're around. And I'm looking for this particular Wi-Fi, your home Wi-Fi. It will always announce that. So your phone is announcing this every second. On Android and on iOS will be, actually on Android it's many times a second, because there are many frequencies. On iOS it does it in kind of a graduated length, initially for every second, and then up to 1 minute if you're not using your phone. So the triangulation is the ability to look for Wi-Fi's around you. That's all it does. Is there any Wi-Fi near me? It doesn't need a connection. It doesn't have anything to do with connection. Thus, it has nothing to do with airplane mode, because you are not connecting to the Wi-Fi. You're just listening for Wi-Fi's around you. This is called promiscuous mode. It just makes a list. Makes a list of Wi-Fi's. So when you go to your phone and look at the list of Wi-Fi's, that is happening in the background all the time. Now, that alone is deadly, because that alone is Wi-Fi triangulation and can give you permissions. Now, the OS actually has a limiter that says, even if I can get the location from the Wi-Fi's around me, I will not let the app see that if you do not give the app permission. So Wi-Fi triangulation is permissioned. So if you say, I'm not going to give location permission, they will not see the app. The OS will see it. Important point here. The OS can see it, but the apps do not have permission to see that. Okay? So yes. So if you turn off location permission, many third-party apps, most third-party apps will not be able to get location if you do not give them permission on iOS and Android. However, and this is the part that people don't understand. However, there's still something tracking location, and that has nothing to do with Wi-Fi triangulation. It's called Wi-Fi scanning. This cannot be turned off. So what is Wi-Fi scanning? It's when your phone looks for the same Wi-Fi routers around you, takes your GPS position and reports it to Apple or Google. So basically it's a way to collect a database of Wi-Fi routers. So because they're saying, well, it's not really being used by apps, it's only for Google to turn your phone into a bot. So your phone is a bot working for Google or Apple, giving locations around you and making a database of Wi-Fi routers. So every Wi-Fi router in existence is stored in the Apple and Google database, and it came from everyone's phone. It's crowdsourced. That is what you're trying to stop. Unfortunately, if you send that data and it has your Apple ID or your Google ID, then they also know your location. It should be obvious, right? You just said, oh yeah, I found these routers near me, and this is the GPS position, and oh, by the way, my Google ID is... Well, obviously they know who you are. So only Google sees this, and Apple. So the solution is simple. Have a device that doesn't have Wi-Fi scanning. And guess what? De-Googled phones do not have Wi-Fi scanning. So if you have a de-Googled phone, it does not do Wi-Fi scanning. That part is not there. Okay? So that's why I love my de-Googled phone, because there really is no tracking whatsoever. There's nothing. I don't have two ways it doesn't track. There's no Google ID in here. So it can't report my Google ID to Wi-Fi scanning. Second, there's the Wi-Fi scanning. How do we know that? Because we see the source code of this. We can't see the source code of Google, the Google version of Android. We can see the source code of this version. And I looked in there and there's nothing. There's nothing in here. Okay? So that's why this is fine, a de-Googled phone. You really don't have to worry about location. Somebody said, oh, what apps can I run on a de-Googled phone? They're worried about, can I screw up my de-Googled phone in some way? Well, it can't really be screwed up. And the reason is it doesn't have any kind of identity. You never logged in here. Nobody knows, even if you logged into an app, yeah, the app knows you're coming from some device, and they don't know what the device is, but they know you're coming from some sort of mobile phone. They may know it's a Pixel, for example, in this case, but they don't know anything else. They don't know who owns the phone. They don't know the ID. They don't know anything from Google. Google doesn't have any telemetry of it because there's no Google ID. Okay? I just want you to see the difference there. So if this has no tracking whatsoever. So I can do anything on here. It doesn't matter. I run my usual apps here. I run, I have Kindle, just to show you some. I have Spotify. I have Waze. Now, I don't hardly ever use Waze. I have Yelp. Yelp is pretty dangerous, but I can use it here. And let's see what else. I have Netflix. So don't have to be afraid of it because, it knows me from logging into Netflix, but it doesn't know the phone. And apps can't cross-identify the phone. They cannot read the SIM card. Google can, on a Google Android, they can read the SIM card IMEI, the identifiers of the phone. They can read that. They can't read this. So that's the difference. So, yes, airplane mode still has nothing to do with anything I said. Nothing. It's not connected to anything. So all that airplane mode is, it says, don't connect to a network. That's it. It's funny. Somebody says, oh, airplane mode, you're not supposed to do anything in airplane mode. It doesn't send any signal when you're on an airplane. So it's kind of stupid when you think about it, because it's not really true. So some university actually tested this. They put a bunch of iPhones and Androids in a laboratory and then said, okay, we're just going to set these phones in airplane mode and leave it here and see what happens. And what happens? They're sending out those Wi-Fi probes, as I told you. They're doing the probes. They're sending out the signal, as I said. They're also in read mode. The Wi-Fi never turns off, so it's able to still read the networks. So as long as some app asks for something, it will work. They'll be able to get a location without connecting to a network. So this is, this is just false information. And somebody mentioned Snowden. Snowden doesn't trust the phone even when it's off. I mean, for somebody at his level, yeah, they can give him a phone. The phone could be like completely dark. The phone could be dark, okay? And he says, oh, the phone is off. But it could just be a phone that was put on a black screen. Do you see how that works? You could trick the phone into going to a black screen. You think it's off. How do you know it's really off? What if malware got in there and doesn't really turn it off, and they just put a blank out the screen, but everything else is running? You actually don't know that. There's no way. There's no buzzing sound. There's nothing to hear. You can't listen to it and hear anything. So if somebody turns off the screen, you think it's off. So nobody actually knows for sure. So I don't think it's. I think when you turn it off, with an off switch, that it is off. At least, for the most part over a long period of time. If somebody made it, delay, could somebody delay the turning off? Yeah, that could be a trick. Somebody could say when you turn off the switch, stay on for the next 5 minutes. It's possible. You can do that. You blank out the screen, and then you'll never know if anything happened because the screen blanked out and nothing is going to happen to it, but it could still be running in the background. So you don't actually. That's why Snowden himself doesn't trust that. He definitely doesn't trust airplane mode. In fact, Snowden came up with a product where you wrap the phone into a RF sensor. So you actually attach an RF sensor around this to see if this is still generating RF. I can tell you right now, as long as there's power to this, it is generating RF. It's generating Wi-Fi and now Bluetooth. Now, your phones, as I've said in many videos, are now tracking AirTags and various trackers, right? So AirTag is one of the things that a Apple iPhone is tracking, and I don't think Google is tracking tile trackers. That's being done by Amazon Echo. So the iPhone one is the one listening for trackers, which means in the background it's doing that. So don't tell me that, I can turn whatever off. Turn what off? You don't even have a choice. They just use your phone. They use your network to track other devices for you. This is a Pixel 4, the smaller one. This is a Pixel 4. This one is 4XL. This one is a 3XL. So you can see the difference. Right? I personally don't like big phones because it's doesn't fit in my pocket, but women can put this in a bag, so that's okay. But for me, I like the smaller one. So yeah, for me the smaller one's better. So anyway, that I hope you understood that. If you don't understand that, ask me the question. How do you disable Wi-Fi scanning on an PC desktop? Wi-Fi scanning, as far as I know, does not occur on a PC desktop. It's something that they do on mobile devices. So on a PC, all you have to do is disable location on the browser. So I don't think it does Wi-Fi scanning. It can, but I believe the one that will have to do it would be Chrome. So on a PC, the one, because it's a Google app thing, so they can't just expose it. It's not part of Microsoft, so it's not on the OS. So how would they do it? The only way that I can think of them doing it is through Chrome. So can Chrome do Wi-Fi scanning? They can't because a PC doesn't have a GPS. So pointless. It needs a GPS to do Wi-Fi scanning. So for that reason, I don't think a PC is an issue. You can disable permission, and then a PC can be Wi-Fi triangulated. It just doesn't provide the data for Wi-Fi scanning. That needs a mobile device with a GPS. Do computers know what address it is at? Do computers know what address it is at? A computer will know what Wi-Fi routers are near it, but in order for it to know the exact location, they have to send that data to Google. It's part of something called the geolocation API. So it has to talk to Google, and then Google will send back the location. Now, this is what some apps do. I just want you to understand this, because some of you are confused with this. So you had location on. You used Yelp on a desktop, and then your location was on, so it did Wi-Fi triangulation. It captured your location. It says Los Angeles, California, okay, with a specific zip code. And then it stored that in a cookie, okay? Stored that in a cookie or browser fingerprint somewhere. It stored it. Now you say, I'm going to turn location off. Doesn't matter. You've been caught. With browser fingerprinting, they'll know, oh, I recognize that device, and we have a record of it being at X location. This is why VPN is important, because otherwise they're going to track you. Some of you will find this. You say you use a VPN, you turn location off, and it still gives you location. I've been asked this question many, many times, and you're wondering why, and you think, oh, the VPN is failing. The VPN doesn't do anything. The VPN does not have anything to do with location. The only purpose of a VPN is to change the IP address. It's the match. It's the location being matched to the IP address that a VPN can protect, because it won't be your IP address, it'll be somebody else's. Okay? So a VPN doesn't stop the location tracking. Location tracking is stopped by stopping the Wi-Fi triangulation permission and preventing the tracking of locations using browser fingerprinting. This is really complicated, because now it gets to, well, how do I stop it from doing the browser fingerprint? And for that, you need to watch my video on browser isolation, one of the most important videos I've ever done. Let me summarize for you so you know what I do. Then you can kind of research it later. Again, what I do is I put Google in its own browser, which is Chrome. I do everything, like I have a YouTube channel, and everything that I do for the YouTube channel, I do it on Chrome. I know that Google is watching Chrome, and it's watching my YouTube channel, what I click on it. So I'm very careful about what I click on YouTube on the Chrome one. Only what I want to tell Google. So if I want to tell Google that I go to a particular news channel, let's say I say, okay, I want Google to think I watch CNN. So then I would click on CNN on the Chrome one. You make your choice, whatever you want. The point is, what do you want Google to see? So I'll do that there. Let's say I want to look at a gun video. Okay, I am not going to go look at the gun video on the Google Chrome. That's Google. I am logged in to Google. It has my Google ID. I'm logged in. It's watching me. So I let it watch me. I don't mind that. Watch whatever you want. Then, now, I have a second browser. My second browser is Brave. And by the way, I have a VPN and all this, okay? Bytes VPN. My VPN. I'm using a Brax router. Okay, on the second browser, I'm using Brave. That's where I do my YouTube. That is never logged in. I never logged in. So let's say I want to watch a gun video. I'm going to do it on the Brave one. I mean, these are all hypothetical here, okay? How do you know I care about guns or anything? I'm just using an example. So, because, you know, YouTube is transcribing everything I say here. So, on the second browser, I do whatever I want. It's isolated. I don't do anything on the second browser, but Google not logged in. So basically, I have two browsers dedicated to Google. Then, so I can do anything that's never logged in. I would never log into Google on the Brave browser. Then my third browser, doesn't matter what you use. I'm using Firefox in the third one. And in the third one, you can use Edge. I don't know if anybody uses Edge, but if you're one of those, then use Edge, whatever you want. So on the third browser, I do not do anything Google. Nothing Google. So if I'm going to go to Amazon, going to do any other site, Brax.me, I do it on the third browser. Now this is important because then it can't cross information. Most of the browser fingerprinting is actually being done by Google. So Google can't browser fingerprint something that doesn't have an identity, because I never log into the second browser, Brave, and Google logged in is only on the first one, and I control what it sees. So basically, I control the information being seen by Google, and I can plainly see this because the advertising is very focused based on what I'm doing on it. Okay, so I'm very careful. If I see advertising that shouldn't be there, you know, at one time it thought I was in a different country, and I said, why did it think that? And I got worried that it may have found a pattern in the videos I watch. So I said, that's not good. So I don't want to establish a pattern. So in my case, it's Firefox. You can use any. I don't really care. Now, so the first browser, if you want to start from scratch and erase anything that Google knows, go to Google Activity Controls and pause that, and then clear cookies to start fresh. And so after a while, the browser fingerprint will reset, and it will learn again. So whatever it learned in the past will be forgotten. Okay, so that's the technique that I use. And if you use these techniques, then it's unable to really get a fingerprint or get good enough information to pinpoint who you are. So that's the approach. It's very simple. It's very effective, and I know it works because of the kind of ads I get. So, yeah, very different from anything I get on the Brave one. Completely different. Okay, so just to remind you, I have 2 other channels in case you're interested in fun things and not interested in necessarily cybersecurity. My other channel is about my boat. I think I'm going to make a video in this channel that shows you my boat because that's my office. That's really where I do all my work, my videos there. I do my videos there, and I write my videos there. So that's my office. I'm at the office every day. So my office is my boat. Instead of renting an office, I thought about renting an office, and I said, the cost of renting an office is, it's a lot, and with COVID, it's like, what's the point? So I have a boat, same thing. So basically, my office is the boat. So that is in a different channel called Rob's Off-Grid Sailing Vessel Project. It's in the description. So if you're interested in that and what I'm going to be doing with that sailing vessel to make it off-grid, then you can follow me there. Now that channel, the last video I did was putting in a solar panel. So I wired in a temporary solar panel to it, and I actually don't need the shore power. So you're tied into the dock with shore power, and actually I don't need that. So the only question actually was I was getting sufficient power to run all the electronics, even all the things like autopilot and all that. It was topped up. So I don't even need any power. I'm going to be powered up with the solar, and that's pretty cool. And that's just with one solar panel. So that's in that channel. The other channel I have is about jazz. So I'm a jazz pianist. So if you want to listen to me just goof around playing music, that's in my music channel. So subscribe to those if you're interested in that, and gives me just the incentive to do more fun things and not just all the serious stuff that we discuss here. Unrelated question: what do you think about Gerda OS? I don't know what Gerda OS is. Just tune in. Look forward to listening to you tonight. You're kind of late. I'm done with the talking of my topic. Now, my live streams are sponsored by Linode. So, like I've been saying to you guys, they've been sponsoring me since last August, maybe? September, August last year. So they've been, they still are my sponsor, and I'm a big user. I'm a big user myself of Linode. I have many Linode servers. So I have a choice of ISPs, meaning companies that provide cloud services and servers to me, and I use only Linux servers, and so I can go to many places like Amazon AWS, and there are many. In fact, I do have many other ISPs, but the main one that I use is Linode. And why is that? Because for one thing, Linode is the cheapest. And they're so fair in their pricing. You can set up a server with a website for as little as $5 a month. And that's an hourly rate. So, an hourly, so divided by 720 hours. So what is $5 divided by 720? And you get the idea that you can install Linux. You can play with Linux, install it, delete it, start again. And you can do this over and over, learn about Linux without having to buy a machine. And the cost to you is $5 if you use it for the entire month. If not, you don't. You can actually do this and use my code, just linode.com/RobBraxman, and you'll get a $100 credit, which you can use for 2 months. And hey, that's not a bad deal. You can learn Linux. If some of you want to learn how to do Linux servers and install that, you can learn that for pretty much $5 a month. And you can set up a website and do all that stuff. And some of the projects I have on my channel here talking about that. So if you're interested in that, go check out Linode. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is answer your questions about anything that you want to know about. So let me just see. Does anyone know the most private cell phone carrier? Is there such a thing? Now, let me just tell you this. A SIM card, when you put a SIM card in your phone, then obviously the carrier knows who owns the SIM card or can find out either from your credit card info or some method like that, because it's part of the KYC, know your customer laws in many countries, especially the US. So they don't allow you to just buy a SIM card. I mean, you guess you can go exchange SIM cards with your friends if you want to do that. Have a SIM card exchange party. That's not a bad idea. So I myself use for my 2FA, two-factor authentication, where I have a secondary phone for getting text messages that are not on my normal phone number. It's a very important thing to do. So I use ting.com. So with ting.com, I pay $10 a month for the texting, and I can change my phone number as often as I want. So for example, I called them and I said, can you send me 5 SIM cards? And they said, what are you going to do with that? Oh, I'm going to keep changing my phone number. Okay, they sent me 5 SIM cards. So then you fire up the SIM card and then keep it for a month, 2 months, whatever you want. Dump it, put a new SIM card in, activate it, and there's no extra cost to signing it up and deleting it. There's no cost to it other than what you pay for, which is $10 a month to use it. So it's a pretty good deal for having a secondary number that's not tied to anything. So if any app, including Gmail, wants 2FA, two-factor authentication, you can use the fake phone number. And the phone number won't last because they can't do much with it because it's going to expire. So they can't really track you. Next month it'll be owned by somebody else. So, and that's why it's so cool. So the SIM card is readable to the carrier, but not to the app unless it's a Google or iOS phone. If you have a de-Googled phone, the de-Googled phone the apps cannot read the IMEI or IMSI. They cannot read the SIM card. So that's why de-Googled phone is advantageous, because there's no Google in it to go find your IMEI or IMSI, which will identify the phone. Does the carrier still know who you are? Yes. But that's all they know. They don't get much information beyond that. They know who you're calling. They know who you're texting. So don't call and don't text. For your family, use Signal. So then it will bypass that. Then they don't get involved. Apple, with iMessage, that's the problem with iMessage. No, Apple is in there in the middle of every person contact that you have. And I don't like that. So I prefer not to use Apple. I don't get an option with Apple. Is there any way to secure phones without de-Googling? No. No, because simply by having a Google phone or an iOS phone, the location is constantly being tracked, the Wi-Fi scanning, and you can't turn that off. Since you can't turn it off, then what can you do? Thank you, AJ, and somebody else did one earlier, and I was. Oh, thank you, Candyman. Thank you. Thank you, James Jackson. Thank you. Thank you, Freddie B. Hope I didn't miss anyone. Thank you, Gypsy Jeeper. Thank you. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. It's it's part of what sustains this channel. Yes, Waze tracks you, yeah, but you're not logged in though. So on my Google phone, I'm running Waze. Let's say I don't use Waze, but I have on here in an emergency if I need to check traffic. So the phone doesn't have a Google ID, so it doesn't even know who I am. So I try not to use Waze from home, so it doesn't have that kind of information. So James Eagle, Rob, is that you? Who else could it be? Is it machine? Bass Guy Show. Hey, buddy, how are you doing? So are you subscribed to my music channel, Bass Guy Show, the Rob Braxman Jazz channel? I only have like 200 some subscribers on it, so yeah. If many of you subscribe, I can play solo piano and such, but it's hard to do it when there's not that many subscribers on it. So Bass Guy Show, it's Rob Braxman Jazz is the other channel, and then the other channel was Rob's Off-Grid Sailing Vessel Project, and it's on it's on the description of the live stream. Should you use Gmail on your phone browser? You can. It doesn't matter. No identity. You can use Gmail. You just subbed here? You just sub there. Hey, thanks, Bass Guy Show. Thank you. You subbed Aphrodisiac. Thank you. Usually when I do a live stream, I lose 15 to 20 subs. This is like for every live stream. And if it's if I talk a little bit of politics, that'll be minus 50. So I don't gain any subscribers net from a live stream. I always lose some. So sometimes you wonder whether I should be doing this. So as long as you tell me that it's beneficial to you, I'll keep doing it. What would World Economic Forum's reset cyber attack should we get ready? I'm not a great jazzer, Bass Guy Show. You are. What do you think of smart home devices? Don't do that, Vince. You're going to be making yourself part of this mesh network that will spy on other things around you, not just your own devices. So no, I do not want those. I actually have my own security camera. I made my own. I used to sell them, but I don't have time to make them right now because I have to 3D print every case, and I don't have the ability to mass produce that at this moment. But yeah, so we actually built it. I mean, we soldered the whole circuit board and everything. We do everything here. And yeah, so we have, in fact, right next to me are a bunch of 3D printers. So that's what we were doing. We're building the cases. And so I have my own surveillance camera, so I don't have to rely on products I don't know what they do. So some of you have my cameras when I was just selling it, but I'm not selling it currently. I can't get Starlink. I told you last week I might get Starlink. So my Spectrum was bad, and I called Spectrum up, and they rewired the whole house from the pole. So now it's okay because they rewired it. I think the cable was getting damaged from the outdoors, so they replaced the whole cable run, and we haven't dropped. So it's good. What is your opinion on QR codes for privacy? QR codes are just they're just going to the website. So obviously, if you willy-nilly go do a QR code, then you obviously will reveal your location. So it depends on whose website you're going to. So if it's a restaurant, maybe low risk, maybe. But yeah, If I'm doing the QR code at the restaurant, I guess that doesn't have any risk. It may be a problem if I'm doing a QR code from my house. That could be a problem. You like Wi-Fi on phones with VPN for security? You don't. Do you like Wi-Fi on phones with VPN for security? If you're going to use Wi-Fi on a phone, you better have a VPN. Yes. If you're going to use cell data, you do not need to use a VPN. In my case, I use a VPN router, so I don't have to think about it. My entire house is wired with VPN routers, so every VPN we log into is always on the VPN, so I don't have to think about that. So I don't put the VPN on the phone because I'm automatically on a VPN. The VPN router takes care of that. It's just simplified. So you can put the VPN on each phone, which is kind of a bit of work, especially if you have a big family. Then you have to do it on every single phone. Put the VPN on. It's a lot of work. VPN router, you don't have to do that. So VPN router, you do it once, and all devices, including computers, are on the VPN. So that's what is preferred if you want to save time. Gerda OS is like Kai OS version of Lineage OS. Kai OS, by the way, is very Googled, since Google is one of the investors in Kai OS. So what to do, where do I get a VPN router? From my store on Brax.me. It's on the description. And I have videos on it, so you should watch the video so you see how that works. Let's see. What is it like to own a sailboat? What are the costs involved? Well, let me just tell you this. Renting an office is very expensive. So it's about the cost of a sailboat. Actually, you can get a cheap sailboat. My sailboat is not cheap, but I needed to rent an office, and what it would cost me to rent an office is the same as, renting a boat, because a big boat has a mortgage, like it's just like a house. So, so you figure your mortgage is the same as a rental for an office. So go to like a WeWork and get the rates. They're not cheap. They're expensive. So for that reason, it didn't make any sense to waste money getting an office. I might as well just use it on something that I control, which is a boat. So I have a lot of space on the boat. It's a big boat. So they say your two best days of owning a sailboat are the day you buy it and the day you sell it. I don't know. I sold my other sailboat. So, yeah, it got sold in a week. So that wasn't too bad. Send me a link. I'm not going to send you a link. It's Brax.me. That's the link. Brax.me. It's in the description. Brax.me. Office space will collapse. Yes, so that's part of it too, is office space will collapse, and it doesn't make any sense. But I don't have space anymore in my house to do all of this, so I needed an office. So I got one. So, except it's a boat. So, boat's like a second house. So, do you have a favorite privacy coin? I use incognito.org, which allows me to keep it in the original form, like BTC or ETH or whatever, and I don't have to keep it in a particular one like Monero, like Monero, and then if the price goes down, then I take a hit. So I don't want to take a hit on a currency I don't like to keep it in. So I just use incognito.org. So incognito.org, I have a video on that, so you can watch it. And yeah, that still exists. So I still use it. Send me some Dogecoin. Google, what? Who's lying to you, Beam me up, Mr. Scott. Why would I be more careful about the data I give to big techs? Don't. Don't be careful. So you actually, some of you are so naive. You say, "What? This has no effect on me." I watch my videos, for goodness sakes. Watch my videos. They change your internet. And you say, "Well, why should I care?" Yeah, if there's an actual issue out there that you need to care about, they will manipulate your vote. They will manipulate your vote to whatever the agenda is, whatever favors them. It doesn't have to be political. It has to do with whatever favors them. And they will manipulate what you see. And I have a video on that proving they actually do this. And some of you are saying, "Oh, I don't care." Well, if you don't care, then, tell me. I'm going to tell you how to vote. Make sure that, you send me your absentee ballot, and I'll send it from my house. And then we can make sure that I vote for you, because you apparently don't care. So if you want to be educated about what's actually happening in the world, then don't you want a source of data that's authentic, not fake? I come from a dictatorship country. The dictator was stating that everything is good, everything is fine, everything is perfect, because that's what he wants you to hear. So whatever the issue is, this is the most important. The most important issue of the day is that we all have to eat cookies. The biggest issue, we all have to eat cookies. And then they'll force that on you, and you think, "Oh, I guess I got to be cool. I got to eat cookies." So, that's manipulation. So if you don't think it's actually happening, then don't pay attention to me. I mean, I can only tell you what I can tell you. If you don't care, then you don't care. I know that 99% of you do not care. Fortunately, there's 257,000 subscribers. So, there's probably easily a few million people. My videos have been viewed 10 million times. So I have 10 million views on my videos. I'm certain many people have seen it, and hopefully, more than a million, maybe a couple million people have seen my videos. So yeah, it's getting to the point where I'm getting recognized on the street. So if so, then I'm glad that there's a 1% that actually pays attention. But 99% of you think like Vince. I don't care. Why should I care? Okay, I can't convince you that you should care, but why should I trust you to vote either? Because, you don't have the right information. You're being manipulated with the data that's being sent to you, and you're willingly accepting it. Say, "Oh, they told me this is the case, so I guess I should trust that." Oh, just to give you an example. Just to give you an example of how this stuff is just so manipulated. It's just amazing. So at the beginning of the COVID crisis, so I'm going to get demonetized for this now, but at the beginning of, that Google will demonetize me for saying this. At the beginning of the COVID crisis, the spiel was from the press was, "Oh, it can't possibly be man-made. This can't be a man-made virus. Not possible." And now, "Oh, it's possibly man-made." Now even Biden is investigating that. So you can see that back then at the beginning, like, there's no way, if you even thought the other side, that you must be a conspiracy theorist. You must have been a conspiracy theorist if you thought the other side. Do you see what's happening here? That it's so easy to manipulate. Back then, you would not have thought that they would, because they said, "Oh, it's it's not like this is not man-made. This is not a man-made virus." And you would have no doubt, because the authorities say it cannot be a man-made virus. Authorities say that, and now suddenly, we're not sure now. So why were you then doing censorship of anyone saying that it could have been a man-made virus back last year. They were actually censoring those on different platforms, especially here. They were censoring that. And now it's truth. At least it's not truth that can be openly discussed. What the heck? So you want your information to be filtered like that? That's an example of filtration that happened in real time, man. That really happened. Everyone else can see that. That was filtered in real time. They were blocking that discussion right here in this platform. They were blocking that last year. And suddenly now it can be discussed. So if I said anything last year, I would be immediately demonetized, and maybe, my channel would be completely deleted. And now, now they can still do it, but I'm not the only one. I mean, it's a commonly discussed issue. Now it's in the news, so now it's acceptable. Cat's out of the bag, so now they don't have a choice. So, so you tell me. So you tell me that, you want to say, oh yeah, the information is so clean. Every piece of information you get on all of these platforms are right and correct because they're corroborated, and the people from the people saying it to you are saying, well, we know better. We know. You don't know. We know. This is why this kind of censorship is not good, because we actually never question things. We should question whether or not you agree with it. I don't necessarily have to agree with certain things being said about any topic related to this, but I'm okay to the questioning. The questioning is fine. The debate continues, and then I can see if the debate is believable. One of the reasons I did the RFID video, which is what I just did here, is because some of you actually said, well, I'm getting a vaccine and I'm getting RFIDs. And I'm telling you that whatever you got, it's not an RFID. You may have gotten something else, but it's not an RFID. Okay, so I just want to make sure that, that we at least research it. If somebody questions me and says, no, there's a special kind of RFID that does not need an antenna that can go through the liquid in your body, and so you're wrong. If somebody told me that, then I would be willing to listen and say, oh, really? That's fascinating. I would like to know that. So far from my research, I haven't found that, so I told you what I know. Because I am a ham operator, I do know a little bit about antennas. A little bit, I mean, not much, but enough to know the basics of, resonance and impedance and this and that. And how, putting in RFIDs can't pass the signal if there's a barrier to the RF. And the barrier to the RF is the liquid. So, meaning it's got to be very short range, like somebody has to stick the reader like right next to you to do it. And in my mind, I'm saying, why would you do that? It's kind of like an expensive technology there's alternatives. So in my only reason for saying I don't buy that it would be put on there is because there's an alternative that's cheaper. So I don't think it has to go underneath, because people don't like putting chips under the skin. Yet you carry your phone around. You carry the chip around. It's so funny. Oh, wow, I'm chipped. I was injected with chips. You're carrying the chip every day. This is your chip. You are so chipped with this. Guys, get a Google phone, please. Don't get chipped. If you're afraid of getting an RFID and you don't have a Google phone, what's the point? You are being tracked. You don't need a chip on your shoulder. You just need a Google phone. This is 90% of all the tracking that's occurring on your phone, for goodness sakes. So don't tell me that. So anyway, just being realistic, I don't think it's likely from a technological point of view as well as from a practical point of view that they would RFID you here. No point to it. So I'd rather RFID you right here. In fact, yes, you can be tracked by a phone, right? You already know that. What if there's an RFID in the phone? What stops them from putting an RFID in the back of the glass? Nothing. There may be an RFID in there. And it might be so tiny that you can't see it, or it could be embedded in plastic and you'll never see it. But yes, you can have an RFID in the phone also. It also has near field. They put chips in dogs to find them. Yes, they can put RFID in dogs, but again, they don't find you from a distance. They have to put the reader right on the dog. Yeah, it's on my video. I have a picture of the RFID they put on dogs. So, when must you request to cross the IFR hold line? Are we talking flight here? I'm a sailor. I'm not a pilot. I don't fly aircraft. I fly a sailboat. Neuralink will probably be even worse, right? Yeah, probably. Probably. Hardware and phone can be tracked. Hardware and phone can be tracked. Of course. What do you think is happening in your phone? Yes, of course. This is being tracked. I told you Wi-Fi scanning alone is tracking this. Device fingerprint, Wi-Fi scanning, Google telemetry is happening on any Google phone and iOS phone. iOS is doing the telemetry. So don't put a SIM card in it to avoid IMSI tracing. That's correct. If you want to disconnect the carrier, just disconnect the IMSI, the SIM card, or exchange SIM cards. If you have a special use case, you insert the SIM card only when you need it. Do RFID wallets really work? It's Faraday bag. Yes, Faraday bags work. Check out my Talking to Alice video. Are you fully vaccinated? I'm still using HTC phones. DuckDuckGo has been compromised. Whatever you mean by compromised. The key is, and some of these comments about compromise is not the same thing as what I'm talking about. To me, compromise means identity. First of all, DuckDuckGo has no login. So what identity? And if you have a Google phone, what identity? There's no identity. If you're doing the browser fingerprinting that I'm telling you, there's no identity. So what are they tracking? So even if DuckDuckGo was compromised, which I don't really believe that, I don't think it would matter because it's not Google. Do you suggest going with GSM over CDMA? All phone carriers are LTE and 4G now and 5G now. So CDMA and GSM is just the type of carrier that it is, meaning Verizon versus AT&T and T-Mobile. In general, I don't like Verizon. They're very difficult to deal with on hardware. They put limitations on hardware. You can't use certain kinds of hardware that would work on AT&T and T-Mobile. But then even AT&T puts some limitations. The most flexible carrier that I found is T-Mobile. They're very tolerant of phones. They work with any phone. I've never seen them complain and say, we won't support that phone. They seem to support everything. So T-Mobile, which is cheaper than Verizon, AT&T. So I think Verizon and AT&T both suck. Verizon is, the bureaucracy for phones with Verizon is incredibly difficult to work with. So anyway, is DuckDuckGo not even completely open source? The point, according to the theory, is that nanoparticles function as RFID and identify that you've had a genetic modification shot. The point, according to the theory, that you had why would they need that? They have the record. See, you haven't been involved in healthcare apparently. So everything that they do to you at the doctor's office is coded with a CPT4 code and an ICD-10 code. They already know everything that they've done to you. It's kept centralized. The insurance company knows it. The government knows it. It's centralized in health information exchanges. I built those systems. I even sent that data to the government. I know it's being sent. So why would they even need to have such a thing? They just check your social security number, and they have your they know if you've been vaccinated or not, and what kind, and if you had a genetic modification, then they already know it as well. So they don't need that. That's kind of excessive work that doesn't get, is no longer necessary because they've already done something else. So therefore, that's why I say the theory is bad, because it's like, do you really understand how healthcare works? They've already tracked you 10 times over. So let's see. The trouble with T-Mobile is an amazing lack of service. Yeah, they tend to be in the bigger cities more. You're right. So it's not really a problem for me. I mean, I get good service with T-Mobile, better than AT&T in my case. So any thoughts on Zoom? Don't use Zoom. Goodness. I already have a video on that. I say use Jitsi. 8x8 owns Jitsi. Jitsi is open source. What are you talking about? Don't talk nonsense like that. Jitsi is open source. I installed Jitsi. I had a Jitsi server running. I recommend Jitsi. It's the best one to use instead of Zoom. It's so easy to use. Jitsi instead of Zoom. Use that. Zoom sucks. You may not be able to erase your identity, so create a second identity. Am I easy to understand? Davey85, sometimes I don't think so. Use Jitsi. It's verified to be the safest that I can see as far as video conferencing, and it's so easy to use. I mean, there's nothing special you got to do. It just works. Not enough coverage in T-Mobile out in the deserts, unusable away from the cities. I believe you, and that's why people want me to sell them a phone that works with Verizon. But, yeah. Zoom Zox, yes. Israel did USS Liberty attack. Yeah, I believe that's correct. You read that book too? Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yeah, that was hidden by the press. This was in, was that in the 60s? Right during the Israel-Egypt war, that the Israelis attacked a U.S. ship because it apparently saw some things happening in Egypt, and they basically destroyed the ship, and then they said, no talking. So the U.S. government said no one can talk about this, and it was never discussed except for the people who were able to reveal it on their dying deathbed, saying, yep, that's actually happened. This is just true. So this is documented in a book on the three-letter agencies. It's actually true, however you feel about it. Are iPads as safe as no SIM card, cell phone with VPN? iPads are not safe because they're running Apple. To be honest with you, if I'm going to make a choice between an iPad and some other device, I'd probably go with a Microsoft Surface Go 2, which is kind of like an iPad. Then you can run any kind of Windows software. And somebody will say, well, that's Bill Gates, that's Windows, that's that. The problem is, the difference here is that a Microsoft Surface Go 2 has very stupid spying capability. You can turn them all off. You can turn them all off. They're not very good at spying, so you can turn off. There's a lot to do, and I have a video on it. But you can turn off all the spyware in a Microsoft Surface Go 2. Once you do that, it's actually a lot safer than an iPad. So, yeah. So in my preference is to use a Surface 2 instead of an iPad. I want to stay away from iOS anything. I know some of you have iOS, and I do too, and it's not doesn't leave the house. Doesn't leave the house. Hello, Kathy, my friend. Is it safer to drink the vaccine? I don't know. You want me to get demonetized? I can't deal with that. Notice every time is the vaccine. I'm thinking of buying a Google phone. Are they still vulnerable to tracking because of IMEI and IMSI? It depends on your threat. For the common threats that we're talking about, IMSI and IMEI is available only to the carrier on a Google phone. So the only one that can read IMSI and IMEI on here on my Google phone is the carrier. In this case, T-Mobile on this phone. This is T-Mobile. So only T-Mobile can see that. But they don't have any other identity on the phone. They don't, well, they know what kind of phone it is because you give them the IMEI. Beyond that, they don't really know what I'm doing on it because I use a VPN or VPN router, so all the traffic is encrypted, so they don't really see what activity is going on. The difference is on iOS and Apple standard Google Androids and iOS phones, apps, especially Google apps, can read the IMEI and IMSI. So that's the difference. Here, no app can read IMEI and IMSI on a Google phone. There are no apps that can read that because you have to be an OS to read that. So since there's no centralized party managing the OS, then there's nobody to collect that information. So the device fingerprint does not exist. The device fingerprint is the key point here. There's no one that can read. The IMEI is not known to any app. So yeah, so that's why on this phone you don't have to worry about anything. You just do whatever you want. You basically, when you have a Google phone, you do have to make a few sacrifices because not all apps run. And you know, if you like a certain app and it doesn't work, and you know, you're gonna get upset, then don't get a Google phone. But you got to make a sacrifice. You got to make a sacrifice. You have to decide for yourself. Why do I want to Google? What is the point? The point, of course, is that unless you do, this thing will be your spy brick. Everywhere you go, this thing will record everything you do. And there's no escaping that. No matter what they say, they lie to you and tell you, oh, we don't do this, we don't do that. It's all false. They do it. So the only insurance you have is to make sure that the code isn't there. So a Google phone does not have the code to spy on you. Therefore, it's guaranteed to be safer for you. And don't give permissions to any app that you don't trust. You keep ignoring my question. Should I invest in Faraday cage underwear? Well, if you ask stupid questions, then I'll probably keep ignoring you. You can still be tracked no matter what you do. Yeah, but do you want to be tracked by Google and Apple? Somebody is always tracking you. I mean, this is Los Angeles. I told you. The traffic lights are doing license plate readers and tracking me everywhere I go. Should you suggest that people turn off their Wi-Fi broadcast? You can still connect your Wi-Fi, just not broadcasting the info. No, Joe, you need to have a Google phone to get rid of Wi-Fi scanning. Because there's no other way to shut it down. Wi-Fi scanning is what you want to shut down. You cannot shut down Wi-Fi scanning without a Google phone. And it's not going to be shut down on an iOS phone. So your iOS phone is doing Wi-Fi scanning, which gives them your location 24/7. That's how Find My Phone works. So you want to use that? Fine. As long as you understand what you're doing. Don't recommend it. What happened to what? Any plans for ruggedized phone offering? Don't know. I only use products that can be de-Googled, so it's up to the manufacturers to make their phone the de-Googling type. Best open source phone. Well, iOS is not open source. Android AOSP, which is what we're talking about with the Google phone, is open source. So that is one of the options. It's at the moment better than a Linux phone just because they're easier to use. And the hardware is better. At some point, somebody can make better hardware for Linux phone, and then I'll eat my words and go Linux. I have Linux phones. I was using Linux phones, and then the one I was using was a Nexus 5, and it stopped working with my carrier, which is T-Mobile. The Nexus 5 stopped working with Ubuntu Touch, so I couldn't use Ubuntu Touch anymore, which was sad because we were using it here. Okay, I'm just skipping some of these comments. Can we shut down Wi-Fi scanning on Lineage OS or other custom ROMs? There is no Wi-Fi scanning on Lineage OS or custom ROMs. By the way, there's something called Wi-Fi scanning in it, but that's not what we're talking about. There's a special kind of Wi-Fi scanning that Google uses, and that's what you want to shut down. So the Google phone doesn't have that. You don't have to shut it down. There's nothing to do on a Google phone. It's already shut down. It's hard to de-Google a side project. Thoughts on 1Password and password managers. Password managers are good. I use KeePass. That's all I can tell you. I used to use LastPass. So LastPass is not open source. KeePass is. I like LastPass. It was very easy to use. And there are many others, Bitwarden and so on. And I don't really have a problem with any of them. So I'm not going to go push a specific one. I prefer the safety of KeePass. It's not the easiest one to use, though. It's a bit difficult to use, but it works on all devices. I use it on my desktop, KeePass. I do not trust password managers. They can be hacked unless they are encrypted. Well, that's the whole point to a password manager, is the encrypted database. So even if somebody steals a database, it's encrypted. So you'd have to break the encryption of the database. So yeah, so with KeePass, they've tested that database, and nobody has broken the database. So it's good. So I'll use KeePass. Now, can somebody break some of the other databases? It's possible, but so far, no. Would you trust LOS with banking apps? I use banking apps on LOS. It's fine. LastPass is encrypted, but still can be hacked. What does that mean, can be hacked? In order for it to be hacked, they have to break your password. So have a long password like I do. My passwords are very long on KeePass. I want a de-Google phone, and I got Vaxtars. Bitwarden with YubiKey. Just use KeePass XC. It's offline. It doesn't matter if it's offline or online. I use KeePass offline. I do use it offline. But I don't have to use it offline, but because database has been safe so far. Did the U.S. government invent Bitcoin? No, the Bitcoin was invented by Satoshi Nakamoto, unless Satoshi Nakamoto is the U.S. government, which I doubt. Does he offer phone consultations at least? No, I never do phone consultations. I hardly do consultations in general. But I can do chat in a limited quantity. I can do chat consultations. The problem is I don't have time. And a phone call is very difficult because you have to schedule it. And I can't find that kind of time to say, okay, I'm going to allot, an hour for you. And I have to charge a lot for that hour because that's very hard to do. Okay, so that not enough, Candyman. No. That's not going to do it for an hour. So I don't know. Money does not talk. No. No, money does not talk. So No, it's not worth it for me. So I do it in chat. I can do it. Okay? What the Zoc? You'll pay the hour. Well, do chat. Well, why did you not want to do chat? Now, chat is good because I can come in, answer a few words, leave, come back later, do that I can do in a limited way. I just can't do continuous hour because then it really shuts me down to do continuous hour. And I don't have that much time. I don't need it. So financially, it doesn't really. It's not something. I mean, I'd rather get some sleep. If you ask me, consultation fees, sleep. I'm going to choose sleep. I'm going to choose sleep. 25.25 BTC per hour. Yeah, that talks. BTC talks. Yeah. So must be doing great for yourself then. It's not that. It's just, it's time is of an essence. Time is very, very limited. My time is I don't have much free time. My free day is Thursday, when the video comes out. And I'm expecting that, okay, so Friday should be free. No, I'm not. I'm doing live streams from Friday. And then so much tech support all the way to Saturday, Sunday. I could be doing tech support until, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And yeah, sometimes you need sleep. So that's it. Right? So no, I used to do some consultations. And I'm finding I'm not doing a good job because I don't have the time. So maybe later on, maybe if business is bad, I can do it. But right now, 1 BTC per hour, final offer. I'll take you up on that, Jerome. Signal versus Telegram versus something else. I already have a video on that. Signal for use for the family only. Otherwise, no. I already have a video on that. Go watch the video. Time is the greatest resource, yes. So, I occasionally want to go sailing, and fortunately I'm on the boat. I do work on the boat. So even though I have to work, at least the surroundings is very pleasant. I'm near the water, and I can look out and look at water while I'm working. So, and I have Wi-Fi and all that, so everything is normal. At 2011 prices. Can you create bots to do some of those tasks to save time? Yeah, I wish it was so simple, right? So I wish it were so simple. Can we trust the proprietary baseband in a Google phone? Does it have to go through the OS before sending data to Google? That's a very good question, Philip and Dip. It's a very good question. No, I cannot trust the baseband. No, I cannot trust the baseband. However, some security experts have discussed this with me as far as one of the fears is that the baseband can access the main memory of the phone, so it can access passwords or whatever, as long as you hack the baseband with a SIM attack, for example, SIM jacking. So you can attack the baseband with SIM jacking. And you can attack the SIM card and have it dial out. So your phone can be in your pocket. Somebody hijacks your baseband modem using the SIM jack attack, and then causes your phone to dial out. So then your phone microphone is on. So it's in your pocket. The microphone is on. Can they do that? Yes, they can do that. However, maybe you need to put it in a Faraday bag when you go to a meeting. However, the phone cannot read the memory anymore because there was a switch that was made, if I remember, where it actually locked out access because the baseband and the OS share the same memory. They share the same memory. So that was my fear. And somebody said, no, that's not going to work anymore because there's a new restriction to the memory. The way the memory is allocated has to go through another hardware device on the phone itself to allocate the memory that's separate from the baseband. So the memory cannot be allocated from the baseband alone. Therefore, it can't access it. So that's what was said. If that's the case, then the baseband can still be risky, but at least it can't read the data of apps. So that's my current assumption on that. Otherwise, if you want to be really feel safer, you can get a Librem 5 phone, but I'm still waiting for my Librem 5. I can't say anything positive about a Librem 5 because I haven't gotten one yet. $700. So yeah, it's like donating $700 to the cause and not getting anything for it. How long do we have to do our work around privacy tactics? Oh, meticulous. That is a tough question. They're eating away at it constantly, so I'm giving you new stuff. So at some point, we may not be able to fight, by hiding. So we may have to fight by disinformation. There's always some way to fight. It's just we may have to change the fight. Do I ship internationally? Yes. Sounds like the Librem 5 really sucks. Well, I don't even know if it really sucks because I don't have one. I paid for it. So your phone is 300 pesos. I drive a time machine. Crazy guys here. I use a C Templar on my graphene phone. What's the best cold storage to upload files? There's a pCloud. pCloud's the name of the site, and they have encrypted, end-to-end encrypted storage. You have to pay extra for it though. End-to-end encrypted storage. That might be a good way for bulk transfer. So it sounds cheap, but when you actually find out that the cheap one does not have end-to-end, then you end up paying more. So they'll still get you monthly on it. pCloud. Peter Cloud. I don't care what the browser is. All browsers, I told you at the beginning, many browsers. Chrome first. Use Chrome for Google. You must use Chrome for Google. If you want to send Google information that you want them to read, it's like sending them a direct line. So if you want a direct line to Google, have Chrome. That's your direct line. And you can make them think what you want. Is Debbie safe? If I know what that means. So you're saying, so you're saying what? Matrix use on your, yeah, I'm sure it works. Pine Phone Best OS? I have no idea anymore. I don't know anymore. So I've kind of set aside doing Pine Phone until somebody tells me that it's ready, and then I'll go retest everything again because I spent so much time testing it. When the time comes and it's more steady, I mean, a year later and we're still nowhere. Can you use a good COVID tracking app on a de-Googled phone? Hopefully not. I got on Chrome and Google about how I believe Manjaro or Ubuntu. Don't care. Use what you want. I use both. I'm not that much of a stickler with, specific distros. It's like, I got other things to worry about. By the way, most of what I do with Linux is servers. I don't really do a lot of Linux desktop. I have tons of Linux servers. I have I can't even count how many Linux servers I have. It's a lot, okay? And they're all running Linux, and a lot of them do run Ubuntu. I used to run a lot of my servers with Debian, and lately I'm using mostly Ubuntu for my servers, and the reason is just consistency. Just has to work. I don't really have time to play with it. So if I find something and I can't find the driver and something's not installed right, it just has to work consistently. And so for that reason, I use Ubuntu. Do you work out? Hell no. No, I do not work out. I don't do anything physical except sailing. No, I don't. My exercise is when I play piano and then I go sailing. That's it. I do not work out. Zero. Which is why I have diabetes, because I don't work out. Please hack into the weather here and lower the 107 temperature. 107. Whew. Can you imagine if you put one of my security cameras outside? Might actually burn up. Might actually burn up. Not, it's gonna overheat. It sounds like the Google phone will keep Google out, but can't hide from a carrier. Correct. Now you can hide from a carrier every time you pull out the SIM card. So that's a technique. Now on a Librem 5 phone or a Pine phone, you can turn off the switch. So you basically can disable the SIM card by turning off the switch. On these phones, you have to physically pull out the SIM card. I give you a little pin. You can use the pin, take it out if you're going to do something special. Otherwise, it doesn't matter because they don't really know that much unless you're on 5G. So 4G, they don't really know much anyway. So yeah, so I don't really do much on phone. That's probably one of the things you got to learn. It's not to do much on the phone. So anyway, I'm running out of time here, so I'm trying to see if I can answer a last question here. Can you hack former... What? I'll give you $1,000. Who's Debbie? Isn't the airplane mode on a Pixel phone a hardware switch? Forget airplane mode. That doesn't do anything. What you want is a Wi-Fi router switch. I mean, a Wi-Fi adapter switch. That's but it's integrated into the card now, so there's no physical switches for that. So the Librem 5 phone is the only one that I know, and the Pine phone that have physical switches for that. So otherwise, no other device has a physical switch. I don't know what next week's video is because it depends on your comments. You leave a comment, then I'd say, I better respond to that. So tonight's topic is a response to somebody who left a comment. I'm testing the water on an old laptop I was given with peppermint. Is my camera on again? Hama sushi. What's the connection? What does Hama sushi have to do with anything? Before you go to bed tonight, do 5 sets of push-ups. Okay. The election, remember the time, Wi-Fi 6 is a bit safer. No. No, WPA 3 is supposedly the safe one, but they don't have operational WPA 3 yet. That's nothing to do with Wi-Fi 6. Wi-Fi 6 is just a higher speed dual band. So it's the next level of speed, by using multiple frequencies. So that's what Wi-Fi 6 is. The one that we're looking for is WPA 3, which is the encryption. And that's been hacked so many times they haven't even implemented it. Okay, so anyway, okay, I'm definitely out of time now, so Again, I'll repeat my schedule again. So I will not be broadcasting the live stream next Friday. I'm going to do it next week on Saturday. The following week, I don't know if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. I don't know yet. So next week, it's going to be Saturday. So I can preset the announcement for next week to be Saturday. So that I know. It's not going to be Friday. I'm not here. I'm not around on Friday. Okay? Okay, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in a video on Thursday and then a live stream on Saturday this coming week. So it's summer schedule, a little bit difficult, with vacations and things. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching me again. Good night.